So what is practical AI? Could we simplify it for the layman in our audience?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Yeah. AI is something that we live as we stand. I think a couple of years back, it was a very much a new technology, but nowadays it is something that we deal with and we live with every day. If I would say, AI starts with the initial start for the AI started with artificial intelligence as a concept, where we started with process optimization or process automation. But nowadays, it is all the way from process automation into artificial intelligence, machine learning, and you name it. I'm sure that everyone now is talking about ChatGPT concepts and so on. So it is anything between a very simple process automation / optimization into artificial or machine learning and a very much interactive machine deep learning as well. So these are the main concepts of artificial intelligence, if I would say.
Yeah, thank you for that. So talking about ChatGPT, let's talk more about the ChatGPT rage. There's a rage going on. What are your views on that?
Yeah, so it is very emerging. I'm not sure if anyone, if you guys on the call can just raise your hand on the awareness of ChatGPT. Just use the emojis. ChatGPT is something that will transform the life of everyone, if I would say. It's all about how we use it and how clear we are in terms of the sequence, the flow of the data we get from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a very much interactive artificial intelligence tool, which really helps you to deal with it as if you are dealing with a human being. It is all about learning the machine how to interpret questions, dialogues, discussion, from a very simple dialogue discussion. If you are searching about any specific question, so how the US economy performing today, for example. So ChatGPT can give you update, but the only constraint as we stand that most of the ChatGPT tools are updated till September 2021, if I would say. I'm sure that there will be updates. So it is a very simple dialogue with a machine up to a preparation of presentation or case study, for example. So you can ask questions, or you can ask ChatGPT to prepare you a presentation about an investment proposal in one of the Middle East countries or Singapore, a specific business or so on and so forth. So it is a very much wide range. Most of the discussions as we stand, most of the new innovations on ChatGPT are more into very much straightforward dialogues, questions, answers, more clarifications, and so on. But the potential of ChatGPT is going very far from a very simple dialogue with a machine.
How about Avdesh? Good to have you back on the call. Anything from you to add?
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So, all right. So let me just take a step back and maybe talk about one of the most important parts in AI, and that is data.
Mm-hmm.
So fundamentally, everything rests and is built on is data, as I think Ahmed rightly explained, the applications and various softwares and the tools that are used. But it's all based and it's all delivered on the basis of data that we have. Now, way back, about a decade back, we started talking about data as the oil. But personally, I think data is today as important as probably gold or even more, because it's all about how do you get the data and how do you then work on the data by using various tools and techniques and technologies that are developed in the sphere of AI. And I wanted to highlight that. Now, coming back to ChatGPT, your question. So yes, I think it's a very revolutionary change that has hit the technology world. Having said that, It runs mostly on being able to use the data that it has learned on its own, some of it, and some of it has been through various other methodologies of making the machine learn. It has huge potential. I think today everybody is talking about it, and everybody is probably using it in some way or the other. The only couple of things that I'd like to highlight here is that while it is very good at very general stuff, and it is being able to give you out some very basic information and you can have communication, it's because it's a generative intelligence that is being used there, because the machine has taken in and learned a lot of the data processing, etc., maybe on its own as well. And therefore it is there. But we need to be very cautious because we are unable to actually predict through it what is the accuracy level for each of the generated answers that are being thrown up. Also, as Ahmed pointed out, that the data input there is only up to September 21, but we all expect that to be updated as we move on. So we need to use it, but with a little bit of caution.
Yes, because of it being a very generative database, basically. It's a very, very large database with generative capabilities. So it's somehow missing the human touch, I would say. So then my next question is, how has AI now been integrated into the finance industries?
Okay, so in finance industry today, I think data is being used in almost all the spheres. I mean, right from providing very customized financial advice to targeted product recommendations, to fraud detection on the other end. And also, the biggest thing that has happened is it has exponentially reduced the wait time for any financial process or for any financial transactions. In other spheres, like in investment banking side, if you look at, this has been used hugely and is continuing to be used, and with a lot more refinement and building of better models around even predicting the returns that you get on your investments. On the sales and the research side in financial industry, I think it has brought in tremendous amount of speed, accuracy, transparency, and all of this happens in almost every step of the way in any financial transaction or any financial event that any financial institution gets engaged with today. So it's almost everywhere, and it's very broad range. The challenge again is that how accurately you're using, and that's why I'll keep going back and keep reinforcing the importance of data, whether this data is generalistic, whether this data is very specialized, because that will make a huge difference in the accuracy of any financial decision. And any error in financial world can cost you a lot. Very
Anything to add, Ahmed? Thanks for that, Avdesh.
No, I think Avdesh said it very right. There are so many buckets, if I would say, as just mentioned, asset management, maybe credit intermediates, algo trading as well, blockchain as well. But if I zoom more on the exact benefit or use for the finance population, I personally in my industry split the use of AI within the finance into main three buckets. Financial planning, financial analysis is a very important bucket. The real-time business insight is a very important, big add value from artificial intelligence, very big insight, add value. It also helps a lot in improving the operational efficiencies. It gives you real-time data. You can immediately interact or react to any sort of critical financial and operational performance. And this is a very big add value as opposed to just waiting, getting the analysis, having your all insights, and then go take the action in a day or 2 or 3 or a week. So what is really helping is the real life, not analysis plus insights. So we used to have planners, analysts. So these roles are becoming very much automated. And I will also give other example. I used to handle the audit function for a big sector, which contains of couple of regions, more than 24 countries. So the way we used to handle the audit was very much traditional. Go to the country, do the planning phase for the audit, spend time with the team, try to get interactions on what are the issues and so on. Most of the team members will hide a lot from the auditors, but nowadays it is becoming totally different. As opposed to spending 6 weeks, we have real-time insights. We can easily have a directed audit process. We see a couple of unusual transactions happening on the inventory side, on the credit side. So we go and interact with the business, what's happening at your side. So it is becoming a real big transformation within the finance function. So the first one, digital planning. Governance is a very important thing. I just gave an example. The other important thing is also the digital monitoring and control and reporting process as well, which is a very much related to the core finance/accounting processes as well. For example, payable receivable processes. It used to be a big pain in each and every organization, especially the big and medium scale organizations. Procurement processes. If you talk about expense management as well. So AI is really helping in further automating and making our life much easier in terms of operating as well as business finance, if I would say.
So I hear a lot about it reducing cycle time, and how about the role that AI has to play in personal wealth management, for instance?
Okay. So you may have heard of a very new term like robo-advisory. So on personal wealth management, I think this has really helped hugely, because earlier you had a lot of lag time by somebody who is a licensed, wealth advisor working with you and looking at what your financial goals are and what your assets are and how do you build and want to use it, what are your future liabilities, and then work out something for you and then give you advice on what products to buy, when to invest, when to exit, so on and so forth. All of this now can happen directly on machines. You just need to input your data. They'll immediately throw up options. They will show you performance of those assets, those products. They will show how your goals are aligning to those investments. And you can, on your own, start your own financial decision making. Of course, you have to rely, and you have to have your own circle of trust, as I call it always, built around the products or the technological assistance that you're getting through various softwares and various commercial utilization by many of the companies in this space. So that's how it's really getting into the wealth management space of individuals or high net worth individuals, or even for that reason, many small and large scale companies. So that's very broad area. The other thing is, which is very critical to understand in this space, is the ability of handling very large data. And today, the ability to handle large data and process it and produce predictive analytics around it and advisory around it is becoming by far very easy on one hand, and on the other hand, it is now being available at the tip. So you have to really appreciate how this has now come into the wealth management space, to be specific to your question.
Thanks for that. So it's such an emerging trend, the use of AI, and it's really transforming the landscape for the finance industries. What are the challenges that the two of you see?
Many, but I'll let Ahmed go first here.
Yeah, this is a very much great question, if I would say. The challenges differs also from where we are in terms of the maturity curve. So we started with totally different challenges a couple of years back. The main challenge at the time was the very high cost of transforming into AI. I remember when we started the RPA, robotics process automation, we used to pay almost $100,000 in order to get just allocation of one of the bots that are assigned in one of the service providers. So the high cost of transformation, this is one, but I think now this is a bit easing down. For me, the main challenge is the governance process about artificial intelligence, if I would say. And what does this mean? It means how we make sure that there is a very strong governance process to make sure that we have a very much ethical standards when we deal with the machine. Because in a very simple way, we can easily direct the machine to get a specific outcomes. To the great example Hodish just mentioned now, if I want to direct the wealth management of specific individuals or investors into something, so we can easily do it at the background. So this is a very important thing. So the main challenge for me is how to make sure that there is a very strong governance process. In addition to that, I have seen it a lot. AI is changing the way we think about jobs. Our traditional old jobs are becoming and will become very different now and later on. The question is how to make sure that we have a very strong knowledge retention and knowledge transfer process for the new generations as well. So AI in a couple of years will do a lot of jobs. So how we make sure that we have a proper knowledge retention for the new generations as well. So this is something that we really think about it in my organization. And I have lots of dialogues also with other peer groups and other colleagues as well on how to make sure that the new generations just deal with the machine as a starting point for them. This is a very important point. So Hodish, if you can please add a couple of points from your side.
Yeah, so that's great, Ahmed. And that's a very good segue for me to talk about more in terms of the commercial utilization, especially in financial industry. So one of the things that we are now relying a lot on AI is to be able to understand and predict market sentiments. For example, if we are into trading business or if we are looking at capital markets business, etc. The question that comes is what is the data input and where are we gathering it from? So one of the most costly investments, and I want to say it with a lot of emphasis that we should make, is to start creating and generating and having our own data. Because if you're working with data sets on specialized units of business or processes or set of documents or people, you have to continue to acquire data over a longer period of time for the same source. So it's very easy for us to get distracted because sometimes the data gets intermingled and we think that this is going to be a good prediction coming for this process or this system, but it may not. So we need to be very careful on that one. The second thing is the ability to predict the error rate on what is being analyzed at the back end. Because of the machine learning processes itself, it's very difficult to retract back and say, how do we really came to this decision? And that becomes a very big challenge because sometimes you're unable to really go back and really understand what data has been used, how has it been analyzed, what has been the source, etc. The third is leakage. Sometimes, if I mean, I would never ever dare to put my, general ledger and my own sales accounting stuff on ChatGPT and ask to give me responses saying, hey, is it going well? Where can I save? What can I do? Because I'm not truly sure where that data lands up. And there has already been a few incidents where people have tried to upload their own software and the programs, and that has just gone public. So again, this is something that we need to be, and these are challenges. These are real life challenges that we need to be very careful about when we are actually leveraging, especially open source, especially data which are being generative in nature and which are being actually analyzed through various public sources and not through specific ones. The last one I'll talk about is the cost. It's expensive affair. So that's why I said that I truly don't believe that data is any more comparable to oil. It's rather comparable to gold, because if you really want to optimize the data collected, it has to be collected over a longer period of time for the same set of processes, of process, of people, and then optimize that data to make predictive analytics. A few examples here, like for example, Netflix. I'm sure many of you would be seeing those. It can predict, but it predicts because Netflix collects the data of a specific person over a period of time, and then it is able to predict what your likes or dislikes could be. Similarly, in other areas like YouTube and all that. And if you expand this and extrapolate this to, say, medical science, a med tech industry, it can be even different. So for the same person, you have to collect the health records and health data points over a period of time to be accurate with what you're predicting on the health side. So that's the cost piece of it. And that's where I said the data, which is longitudinal in nature, will be very costly affair, but you have to build that set of data for your business and for your future. Thank you.
Thanks for the very in-depth answers from both Ahmed and Avdesh. And actually, Avdesh, you started to go into my next question, which was, what are the cautions that we should take? So I'm really glad that you went into that as well. So then I would like to go back a few years and ask both of you actually on what your thoughts are on how the industry has evolved in this way, in the application, the practical application of AI for the past 6 years. How has it evolved going back pre-COVID and then during COVID times, and now we're post-COVID times?
Okay.
Any thoughts, Ahmed?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Well, I think that's a great question, because I think I would say just three things about this evolution in last 6 years, pre-COVID, COVID, and where we are now. I think number one is speed. It's with unimaginable, speed with which the technology handled this disruption of COVID and work from home and things like that, and everything just got so quickly moved. I think some of the products that we see today, which are AI assisted, if not driven, are actually created with such a tremendous pace and speed. So that's really astonishing. That's one. Two, I think during this period, one of the industry which really got very hugely disrupted and evolved, and for good reasons, and I'm very positive about it, is the education and learning industry. I wouldn't have expected the universities and the Ivy League institutions have all their programs now available so easily around the world and at a very, very low cost. So I think that was enabled a lot by the technology and the systems of how the AI came and how the things could be put out and on various medium and could be accessed by interested people. And the third, and I'm being here a little more general, but here is the third is the disruption in the banking industry, and why I come from that background. So I would like to talk about it. The transactions that are happening in the banking industry, whether it is in the retail banking space or the wholesale banking space or the asset management space, is so much driven and so quickly driven and is being done with speed, with more accuracy. The cross-border movements, the cross-border transactions, the compliance world, all of these have got so quickly plugged in through the assistance and help of AI. It's so easy. I would have imagined it would take about 10 to 15 years in reaching where we are in terms of our financial growth and evolution and transactions that we are seeing today. So these are the three very broad ones, and I'll leave a few for Amit.
No, you said it all almost, Awdish. Let me start from this point of disruption. As what the difference between the old days and these days are the pace. So disruption in the old days, 5-6 years back, was very much in a lower pace. If I can refer to this BlackBerry versus the smartphones example, for example. So it took almost 2 years to really disrupt between BlackBerry and move into a very much the high smartphones. Now disruption can happen within months, within weeks. So you can go with a technology in a couple of weeks and couple of months, you can get into a disruption for the new emerging technology. And that's exactly what is happening for the AI. So the pace of AI is becoming much faster. The time between winning and losing is becoming very tight, if I would say. This is one. On this point, you just mentioned earlier on COVID. COVID has even accelerated what I'm saying much faster. So the only point is all about the pace of disruption and new technologies. The third one, we as a finance function became very much into being proactive, because we used to spend days and nights to get the basic foundation, insights or data for our work to be done. Now it is becoming totally different. So it really helped us to further elevate our finance folks to very much be into partners as opposed to be a traditional finance/accounting stuff. That's what I can add to the great insights.
Yes, so I've been hearing a lot about the words agility, acceleration, disruption. So what are the future trends that the both of you see that AI would bring?
Well, let me start by saying that nowadays I've been talking a lot about, to the organizations about saying that, look, I'm coming from the future to tell you, if you don't do this, you're doomed. And it's a very, very strong statement, but let me qualify it a bit. So one of the things that in future is that, again, I'll always go back to data. How do you, so if your organization has any process which is still running on Excel sheet, take it from me, your competitors are going to overtake you.
Yeah, so there are so many emerging technologies, if I would say, and it is all about moving from traditional into very much different profiles as well. Let me start first. What is happening within the value chain, the business? We are getting more different insights from consumers. The consumer data is becoming very much available in a very much wider scale. So artificial intelligence is helping us a lot in terms of getting so many insights and that. And what does this mean to a business like PepsiCo, for example, or Nestle and so on? So we are moving to a different level as we stand as a result of artificial intelligence. We are moving into more human-centric / personalized offerings. And this can also be very much relevant to fast-moving goods company, as well as medical companies as well. To give you an example, Nestle now is trying to have some sort of emerging technologies to have nutrition or nutritional offering based on consumer/DNA analysis for their consumers. Another medical hygiene company, they are trying to get data, daily data on consumers who has some sort of fever, for example. So they can send them specific messages, guys, Mr. X, Mrs. X, looks like you may need to get treated by Y and Z. So to that extent. The other important two aspects are more into commercial side of business, more into sales, go-to-market automation, the retail database as well. This is becoming very much disruptive as well in our lives, especially for the fast-moving goods operation. The other third important pillar is supply chain. which is from manufacturing into distribution, into logistics as well. There are so many examples. So this is on the business side, but I would like also to give a thought to the audience. Think about how this can change the finance operation from a traditional into a new emerging finance function. That's exactly the role of us as CFOs or finance leaders, to think how we are going to deal with such a great, huge number of data on consumers, commercial, manufacturing, supply chain, and so on and so forth. So that's it from my side.
Thanks so much, Ahmed. I really like how you connected all the dots. That was really insightful.
So basically, I think what I would say is it's very important for all of us to understand the importance and see this whole new world, which is now very largely dominated by AI, in two parts. And one part is obviously the data part. And that's why I emphasize that even today, if there's any process in any company or in any department or a sub-department is being run on an Excel sheet, please take my words for it. Your competitor is collecting data and you are going, and they'll go ahead of you even before you blink your eyelids. So that's the way I look at it. So you need to have a very strong investment of keeping those sorts of collecting data, and because that's going to be probably the real, deciding factor for how your asset is valued or how your company is valued. It's going to be on the basis of data you bring in. Challenge that I see is, and it could be because one of the things is that today, there are open source and open data available, but tomorrow people may say, why will you use my data? I've allowed you to use my data. And in case of Google, they were crawling in my sites, but they were bringing in, visitors to my site. But in your case, you're simply giving the answers, for example. You're not even highlighting. So these kind of things need to be addressed sooner than later. I mean, how do you really protect, secure your data, and make sure that it's being used rightly? The third thing is for any decision, and I think Ahmed talked about it, for the entire spectrum of business, right from sales and marketing, going back to manufacturing, operations, supply chain. In each of these areas, your company's data, your own experience. I mean, think of the richness with which a company in FMCG, for example, whether it's Coke or Pepsi, I mean, the amount of data and amount of capability that you have to use your own data to predict. I mean, so I'll give you a few examples. Today, in terms of brand communication, it is done at n equal to 1 level. Gone are the days when you had those general, advertisements and brand communications happening. Today, it is to one single person, and that is coming out on the basis of the data, the wealth. That's why I call it gold, that the company is collecting. And another example I can give you is because of the AI tools that have got developed, today your negotiating capability, if you're a very large organization with your vendors and suppliers, are absolutely multiplied manyfold. Over a period of time, when you renew a contract over 1 year or 2 years, you don't even revisit what was there in the earlier contracts, for example. AI brings all of that together, reads those 3, 4, 5 key parameters, puts it out in front of you, and then you would start discovering that you have 10 different contracts with the same company, which has been acquired or merged or changed, or, so your ability to negotiate gets multiplied manyfold. So these are the kind of tools that are going to help you with your own data. And the last one is, and many more, but I'll talk about finance, and that is, every bank today needs to use its own financial data and leverage it for optimizing product development on one hand, to product offerings on the other hand. And that is very, very essential, because it has to be unique, and that uniqueness, you cannot, do a general data analytics, collect data from various different financial institutions and develop something. It may not be as customized or as effective that you need it to be. So there are many more, but I'll pause here.
Sure. And on that note, I was thinking that now we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about some cautions and implications that we need to look out for. So I would like to end on a more positive note. What are the opportunities that the both of you see?
Many, but Ahmed, to you first. I don't know where to start in terms of opportunities, but again, as we just mentioned now, disruption is becoming a norm. So there are so many opportunities in terms of where to go, and our daily lives. Also, there is also a lot of opportunities for us as a finance professionals to think what could be next as well, not only organizations. So if you think about it, there is individuals opportunities, professional opportunities, organizations, and so on. Yes, that change will come with a cost, but think about what's next as well. So opportunities are huge, and I will be very honest with you. You think about it, opportunities are everywhere in each and every dimension of the business operation, whether it is fast-moving organization, banking, whatever. We used to use cash in our daily lives. Now I barely use cash, for example. So what does this mean in terms of opportunities for others? The personalized offering, as I mentioned, where can this go further, if I would say? So I will be very honest, unless there is a specific question or ask from the audience, but it is a very much wide, there is a wide range of opportunities, if I would say. So Udish, if you can add, would be great as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And what I can add is, in terms of opportunity, it's huge. It's huge. So let me talk about it in three areas, starting from individuals, like individual human being. In our day-to-day life. I mean, it's going to impact us right from the time we are waking up to the time we're going off to sleep. I mean, even post-sleep, while you're sleeping. So there is data collection happening. Your sleep patterns are being studied. You're given that feedback in the morning. You had a very good sleep. You may not have had a very good sleep, and how it can impact. So you can see in individual life how this data is being collected. So we are using a lot more sensors today on our body, and not only that, we are having a very strong tool behind it, which is analyzing those data and giving you. So this is, to begin with, is at an individual level. Moving on to, say, a group or a function level in a business organization, there is not a single function, including HR, which does not have huge opportunity to leverage AI and data and everything that we talk about. One interesting thing that I'm trying to work and think about, and maybe sometime publish, is how do you treat AI? Because AI, we are saying by definition, is something like human being. We are training, creating these AI machines, tools, people, things that are working today as human beings. So we will have a very strong HR need to assess which AI is the right one to have for the organization. Which AI that we pick up and how we develop that. How do we assess the performance? How do we start relying on that? We hire people at junior level over a period of time. They grow into the organization to lead functions. So how do we help the evolution of these AI? Because we are talking about robots, we are talking about automation, we're talking about them working alongside. We are saying headcount will be people and AI robots, and both will be headcount. So how do we manage the entire life cycle like we do for human resources in the organization? Sorry, a little passion there because of background. So I thought I'll spell it out for you.
No, passion is great.
and so there's a big opportunity there for them. And of course, in every other function. I mean, Ahmed talked a lot about finance, talked about even sales, marketing, and supply chain, all the way down the line. So that's, of course, there. So huge opportunities. I mean, the thing is that today we can access
Mm.
services at much, much faster rate, exponential amount of speed on one hand, and at very, very low cost.
Right.
Right. And the last one, which is again very, very close, and I'm very passionate about it, is the education industry. I mean, the
Yes.
learning industry. One side, you will hear a lot of noise about jobs going and people losing jobs, but on the other hand, I feel that there will be new jobs created.
Mm.
And those new jobs will be created. Therefore, you need to probably disrupt the current education system and bring in the right changes so as to be able to create resources with that knowledge and skill and competence, which will become a kind of available opportunities, right? And not to forget one last piece, again again passion,
Mm.
health. Like, I mean, today, health industry, when I read about the application of AI, it is so amazing.
Mhm.
uh,
Yes.
During COVID, I heard very sad stories where people were not able to reach out, but now there will be implants that are being
Mm.
created, which can send signals to your doctors or hospitals and everything. You don't even need to have someone diagnose that you're in an emergency need of healthcare. It just happens on its own. And not only that, at some point in time, the data that your body is generating and it's getting collected, it starts predicting your health status. So that helps you immensely, huge opportunity there. And of course, banks have to be careful because banks are shifting more on the digital side,
Yeah.
and a lot of jobs there are going. I mean, I remember 20 years back, if I had to go out and look for a equity research guy or a fixed income research guy, and today, by the time the annual results are announced, already on the analytics, on the analyst screen, you can see all the results being analyzed and all the ratios coming almost on real time. So think about this. So the huge opportunity, you touch any sphere of life, and there is a very positive opportunity and chance to leverage this at a lower cost and faster speed.
Mhm. This is such an insightful conversation. Thanks for this. So now I think we can take some time for some questions and answers for the floor to be open. And in fact, I think we already have a question typed into the chat box. And anyone else who has questions, please do raise your hand using the Zoom emojis if you would like to ask your question, or you can also type your questions and comments in the chat box. So there's a question here that we have. What source of information is your AI tool using in finance? Are you using internal or external data sources? It is actually a many-part question, so I'll break it down into the first two parts, which is what source of information your AI tool using in finance, and are you using internal or external data sources?
Yeah, if I would talk about my business, we of course use both internal and external, and it is very important to be clear on how we will process this data, the internal one, and for the external ones, it's very important to know and agree on the source of the external data. Is it primary? Is it secondary source, and so on. What is very important, and I think this would touch base on a couple of points within the same question, is to make sure that we know exactly how the algorithm for each and every AI tool in our operation works. And the much more important thing is to have more frequent reviews on how the internal slash external data is being processed. So in a very simple way, internal, external, our internal data, for example, the commercial team, they get the internal data, sales by channel, by product, by SKU, and so on. And how this is very much integrated with the external data, maybe weather has a very important input on the way we forecast our operation, our daily sales, inventory levels, and so on and so forth. I'm just giving simple example in order to be on the same page. So we need to be very much clear on how we will source the weather projections for the coming 3-4 days, and we collect some sort of comparisons, get insights, and we run some sort of deep analysis on the projected variations on the weather and the potential impact, for example. The last point I wanted to really highlight is, sorry, I jumped to the last point of the question, so let me hold this until, okay.
Oh, this is good, no problem.
Yeah. So I like this point, Sylvia, on what you just mentioned, on what confidence level do you rely on AI versus human decision rationale. So human brain is the brain who really invented AI. We will never be able to get rid of the human brain. And it's all about you looking at the logic. AI will only help you. I like also Odish's example for the new generations and new students as well. They are becoming very much spoiled. So any student can just step into any of the AI tools, write me a thesis on XYZ or a case study on. But look at the other side. The professors, teachers, they are even smarter than these tools. So it's very important to have the right mix between system AI tools supporting you and your sense as a human being on how to rationalize this decision. That's it, in a very simple equation, if I would say.
So that was Ahmed's very detailed answer to the part of the question that said, at which confidence level do you rely on AI versus human decision or rationale, and do you use scenario analysis? And I think that really answers it in a very detailed way. So thank you for that. Avdesh, do you have anything to add?
Well, only thing, I think that was a great answer, Ahmed, and you explained it very well. The only thing I'd like to add here is that let's treat as of now, it may change in future, who knows, but let's treat AI as very simply like we treat even human brain and human thinking. There are human mistakes that happen. There will be AI mistakes that happen. There'll be errors on both sides, yes, but there will be, you have to live with it. So you cannot just say that, okay, because it's a machine and because the data and analytics is being driven through AI tools and technology, the errors will be less or more. It can happen. Definitely that side, and that's same as what happens with human. I mean, there are commitments of very grave mistakes by some people, some wrong decisions are made, so on and so forth. But I would like to believe, though that we will always be ahead as human brains will be ahead of machine brains.
I think that was a really, really good question. And thank you, Ahmed and Avdesh, for answering it in such a thorough way as well. So we have about 5 minutes left. I think we have time for one more question, and it's in the chat box now. Avdesh, what would be your advice to the new generation of HR folks managing people and engagement with the continuous disruption created by AI? So again, we hear that word disruption.
Oh, that's a great question. And what I would say is that for all of us, and this I would say for in general, for all functional people, and in HR, even more, because we have to really be at the forefront of managing transformations and change. And for that reason, today, when we see that the ability of AI to deliver a lot of work that we do, whether it's in compensation or it's in recruitment or it's in performance analytics, psychometrics, whichever area that you think of in the life cycle of an employee, there is availability of AI tools, technology, data. And my only suggestion will be to start getting engaged, learning it as quickly as possible. I always advise people on reverse mentoring these days, because the newer generation, the younger generation, they have got more exposure to technology, and their ability to acquire and assimilate that knowledge is so immense. So, gone are the days when you need to have your coaches and your mentors who have to have 30 years of experience. No, you can have somebody with 2 years of experience come and coach you and teach you to use some of these tools. So I would really tell the new generation of HR to get engaged. And let me also say in the same breath, it's easy. Let me tell you that today we are talking of programming or developing apps without programs. You just talk in your English language and your app is ready. Already these tools are available in plenty now. Google has developed that. I know the Goldman Sachs is internally developing some of these things, similar to what ChatGPT is, but they want to have internal stuff because of the data security and the data management that they want. So these are, so not to be overly overwhelmed with this, but to just accept it, take it, adopt it, and adapt it. So that adaptability quotient has to be highest in HR, folks, as I say.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry, if I would add, I know that we have 2 minutes, but Udish is really raising a great point,
Yes,
and I like the question as well.
Yes.
One last advice on this question is try as a HR team, especially managing people and engagement, to link your development, functional development, to link it, get it very close to the overall company strategic direction. So don't go with a very much full-fledged training development programs. So if the company want to be one of the top AI players within the market, think about what is the impact of this high strategic direction on finance, sales, marketing, and so on and so forth, and try to build a very much balanced development programs as well to be able to deliver on that. Because the only issue I have seen last couple of years is the supporting functions are very much aside from this strategic direction. That's exactly what we have seen last couple of years.
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Thank you so much to Ahmed and Avdesh for a really insightful conversation on a fascinating topic.